In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what goes on in the mind of a fearful avoidant when you are going through some kind of disconnect or some conflict in your relationship. But first, if you are new here, my name is Marcella. I'm a relationship coach. I was trained by Tice Gibson in the Personal Development School. I have a bachelor's degree and I've been studying the field of personal development and attachment theory for the past 5 years now. Now, I came from the streets, the ghetto, but I got my life together. Things were very chaotic in my childhood, and I went to school, I studied, and I became the woman that I am today. So I am someone who very much understands fearful avoidance and their attachment style because I struggled with the biggest challenges around this attachment style myself. If you don't know what a fearful avoidance attachment style is, I'm going to give you a brief overview, just a very brief one, so just hang tight. Fearful avoidants tend to have grown up in very chaotic environments. This seems to be the prerequisite across the board, and this can be having parents who were an addict, right? Maybe they were struggling with personality disorder or some form of addiction, or maybe things were very chaotic in your home, like there was a lot of fighting, things were like unstable, right? Like you had to move a lot, you changed schools a lot, these types of things. Chaos, you never know what you're going to get. This is what creates a fearful avoidant attachment style and causes them to swing from hot and cold in their relationship dynamics in their adult life. Why does this happen? Because there's some positive associations to love and connection, and there's also some negative associations to love and connection in the sense of sometimes you could maybe go to your caregiver and they were really nice and they were really loving, depending on their mood or what was going on for them at the time. And other times you go to them and maybe they are mean and they're pushing you away or they're yelling, right? These types of things kind of tend to be like the overarching thing for fearful avoidance when they're growing up. So let's dive into this video. When you're going through some kind of conflict or disagreement in your relationship, let's say as a fearful avoidant woman, I come home and, I ask my partner to take out the trash and the trash is still there when I get home from work. And if you're a fearful avoidant, you know that you are an overachiever. So I'm an overachiever. I feel like I take on the load of the world, and there's an element of me of wanting to achieve perfection in my relationship to kind of show up as the perfect partner. So I very much do a lot of the things in my relationship. I'm a caretaking kind of person. That's part of my nature. So I might do my partner's laundry all the time. I might do the dishes, do all the bills, do all the cooking, all the cleaning, everything in my house. I do because I want to be that top tier partner, and I'm very caretaking in nature, and so this is just who I am. And I always wondered where this stemmed from, but it stems from fearful avoidance growing up in environments and really feeling this sense you have to earn your worth. So we always feel like we have to earn our worth in relationships, and on top of that, growing up in enmeshed households where maybe caregivers weren't always in their best state of mind, and you had to actually start taking on some of those roles and really looking after them and taking care of your home or your siblings or your house. This is why fearful avoidants tend to be so caretaking in nature. So getting back on track of getting into this disagreement over my partner maybe not taking out the trash, I come home ugh, there's the trash again. Wow. So I might go, instead of communicating in a healthy way, I would probably go to them and be like, really, you couldn't even take out the trash? Because I'm boiling inside because I do so much. If I ask you for one thing and you can't do it, I'm overboard because I do this, all these things. Trust me, I have a list, and I ask you for one thing, I need you to show up. And the moment you don't, it's a big thing. And so we get into this conflict because I don't know how to express my emotions in a healthy way, and I'm taking on the world even though nobody is asking me to. I'm doing this and I'm not even realizing it. and I'm going in and I'm expecting you to know, like, hey, if I ask you for something, you need to do it. And I take it as like, you don't care about me, you're disrespecting me, you're taking advantage of me, you don't appreciate me as a partner when I'm doing all these things. And then I ask you for one thing, and you can't do that. Oh, my world is on fire now. Like, burn this house down. Like, it's just crazy to even think back to like the way I would think. So, just to be clear here, like a big common denominator in fearful avoidance is we tend to be people who give, 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 show up, pour in to the point where we take advantage of ourselves, and then we feel resentful and taken advantage of, but we're actually doing this to ourselves. And then we blow up on whoever's around or whoever like we want to actually do stuff also. We blow up on them, so our partner, and then we feel guilty about it. We feel bad. We feel bad that we blew up. And then we go back into, okay, I'm just gonna give again, give, do all these things to make up for me blowing up. And then I'm gonna feel taken advantage of again, resentful again, and then I'm gonna blow up. And then I'm gonna keep this cycle going. This is how we operate. And it's crazy because nobody's actually taking advantage of us. We are taking advantage of ourselves. So I just want to make that very clear, because nobody's expecting us to do all of these things. But yeah, it won't get done if we don't do it. But no one's expecting you to do it. You can ask for help. You can ask for support. Fearful avoidants usually aren't asking for support because they are afraid of what's going to come out of that, right? They're afraid, oh, this person's going to think I'm too much, or I should have to do it. No, you don't have to take on the world because you're not Superwoman, right? You're not Superwoman. So let's just even that score there. You're not Superwoman. It's okay to ask for help. Normal people, like healthy relationships, they support one another. They ask for help. So I just want to make that clear for you. So anyways, when we are going in the midst of that kind of conflict, because that's a very common one that happens for fearful avoidant, you might notice that you get really like shut down. Like you're like angry, and then like well, I'll say like we, because I'm saying like in our mind. So we get really like angry, and then we shut down, and we're like, oh, we just feel like so frustrated and kind of like defeated in a sense. But because of whatever reaction or whatever we initially had said to our partner in the midst of this kind of disagreement, or most likely any of them, it's going to be followed up. It's usually followed up with this feeling of like, oh my goodness, I am bad. Like, I'm bad. I shouldn't have done that. Like, you feel like all this guilt and shame around bringing things up, or around like addressing things, or like conflict. Like you take on all of the blame. Like we take on all of the blame. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm bad. I shouldn't have done that. I'm like a bad person because I did that. You feel guilt and shame. And then you have this anxiety that comes up, right? We have this anxiety that comes up that's like, man, like they're probably going to think that I'm bad, and then they're going to abandon me. They're going to leave me because, you know what? Like they're probably sick and tired of this. Like I do this a lot, and they're probably going to abandon me. And then I start getting afraid. Because I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want them to abandon me. So what can I do to fix this? And so a lot of the times, like the missing piece of the puzzle here is going to be healthy communication and vulnerability. Now, this is something that us as fearful avoidants don't usually have access to, because we're like so much wrapped up in like this sense of like needing to have our wall up, right? Because we're afraid that people are going to take advantage of us, or think we are weak, or some type of thing, like betray us eventually, you know, any of these things. So because we have these fears, we don't want to be vulnerable and just go to our partner and say something like, hey, you know what, like I've been feeling really overwhelmed. I could really use some support in the house. Do you think you could do XYZ? And like that would be very helpful. I would truly appreciate that. And because we don't even have access to that, like it's very hard to even like settle any kind of conflict that arises in our relationships, right? And a lot of the times, like we don't even want to go back and like tell somebody from our heart. Like fearful avoidance, you might be like, yeah, I'm really good at apologizing. Like I can go back and apologize, but like you might apologize and be like, hey, you know what? Like, sorry that I said this. I know I shouldn't have done that. I know. But like you forget the missing piece of the vulnerability of what was actually going on for you. Like you just apologize from like this space of like, I'm sorry for what I did because I'm a bad person, like, and I don't want to be abandoned. So I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, I'm so bad. Yeah, I promise I'll work on this kind of thing, when really there's still a missing piece of your heart that hasn't been communicated. You're not really solving anything on behalf of yourself unless you've communicated on behalf of yourself. So yeah, I'm sorry for my actions. And what I've noticed is that I feel really overwhelmed with all the things in the house that I'm taking on. And you know what? I would really love if like you could do the dishes twice a week, or like you could take out the trash every morning, or like you take out the dogs, or whatever that is, right? To kind of support you along the way. There needs to be this piece where you're able to communicate, apologize, of course, for any of your negative reactions, volatility, bad comments, whatever you said. Like, of course, take accountability and apologize for that. But in addition to this, you also need to be able to communicate on behalf of your needs and what is truly going on for you. So we have to knock these walls down, fearful avoidance, and be able to communicate. Now, if you are the partner of a fearful avoidant, right, I just want you to like understand, fearful avoidance, they have big hearts, right? They have big hearts. We have big hearts. It's just like these fears that stand in the way of us being able to be vulnerable, to be able to share in a kind way sometimes, or to be open and direct with you. Like it just feels so scary that like we want to, but then we don't. And then you might see that like we shut down in the midst of things like conflict, or like, anytime we're like thinking negative thoughts in our head, we can go into shutdown mode. And this is usually because we're thinking, does my partner like me anymore? Are they going to leave me? What is going on? And feeling unsafe a lot of the time. And when we're shutting down, like a lot of the times, we actually want connection, but we don't know how to achieve that connection or to get it. So it's almost like wanting a hug, but running in the other direction. And we just feel like helpless. Like we don't know how to get back in touch with our partner or to communicate the things that are truly on our heart in that moment. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Hit that subscribe button for more fearful avoidant content, and I will see you next time.